Hello class, this is lesson 12.4, similarity in right triangles. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about something called a geometric mean. And that is a special type of proportion where we could solve for value x using some kind of formula, which we'll talk about. And then we're going to be looking at the similarity between three different types of triangles. So to start off, let's talk about the proportion a over x equals x over b, where a and b are numbers. X is the geometric mean of a and b. If I was to cross multiply a times b and x times x, I would get x squared equals ab. And if I wanted to solve for x, I would take the square root of both sides. So x is actually equal to the square root of ab. So this formula is the geometric mean. And you could find that given just a and b. So let me walk you through the first example. Let's say that we have two numbers, a and b, so 4 and 25. If you wanted to create a proportion, you could write 4 over x equals x over 25. Then when you cross multiply, 4 times 25 is 100, x times x is x squared. So we end up with x squared equals 100. Take the square root of both sides, and x is equal to the square root of 100, which becomes 10. The shortcut would have been just to use this formula. So if I write x equals the square root of a times b, so 4 times 25, that is equal to the square root of 100, and the square root of 100 is 10. I'm going to use this shortcut on the next problem. So if a is 9 and b is 20, I'm going to write x is equal to the square root of 9 times 20, and that is the square root of 180. Now in algebra, you learn how to simplify a radical expression, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So how do we simplify the square root of 180? We have to pull out a special factor. So two factors of 180 are 36 times 5. But remember, these are still in the square root. The square root of 36 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 180. The square root of 36, though, is 6. So this simplifies to 6 square root 5. So now let's practice two problems. And if you want to pause the video here so that you could try these on your own and then press play, practice simplifying your final answer into radical form if you need to. So using the shortcut, I'm going to have x is equal to the square root of 6, that's a, times b, which is 24, which becomes x is equal to the square root of 144, and the square root of 144 is 12. So the geometric mean would be 12. Next, 5 and 12. So if I was to write the shortcut, x is equal to the square root of 5 times 12. 5 times 12 is 60. So this becomes square root of 60. And we've got to see if we could simplify this. So one thing that we could do is we could factor out 60 as 4 times 15. So the square root of 4 times the square root of 15. The square root of 4 is 2, so x is equal to 2 square root of 15. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to be looking at the geometric mean theorems. So let me kind of zoom into this diagram here. Let me kind of focus this really quick. Okay, so in this diagram, there are 3 triangles in this diagram. So there is the large triangle. If you could see this large triangle. There's a medium triangle. And then there is a small triangle. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using these formulas to find certain lengths of what's missing in what is asked in the question. So if we want to solve for h, we're going to be looking at how can we solve for h using a diagram and then comparing that to the formula. So we're going to skip this proving the geometric mean theorem, and we're just going to go straight into a problem. But I do want to mention that, let me see, h, I think, stands for the altitude, the height of to the length of the altitude to the hypotenuse. Yeah, h is the length of the altitude to the hypotenuse. So this is h. Okay, A, B are sides, and then we have x, y. C is the length of the hypotenuse of the big triangle. Okay, so let's focus on this problem on page 44. Find the indicated values. So what we want to do is we want to find x. So we look to see where x is located. X is located here. Now this is a side of the medium triangle, and it's also a side of the small triangle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the medium triangle, and I'm going to draw the small triangle so that they are facing the same direction. Now let's look at the medium triangle. In the medium triangle, this is the long side and this is the short side. In the small triangle, this is the long side and this is the short side. So let me draw the medium triangle where we have the long side and the short side, and the small triangle with the long side and the short side. The long side of the medium triangle is 10. The short side of the medium triangle is x. The long side of the small triangle is x. And the small side of the small triangle is 2. So drawing it this way kind of helps us create that proportion easily. We could easily say 2 over x is equal to x over 10. So the small over the large, small triangle over large triangle equals small triangle over large triangle. So we end up with this kind of proportion, 2 over x equals x over 10. And this is similar to the geometric mean. So x times x is x squared. 2 times 10 is 20. And if we take the square root of 20 and simplify that, we get 2 square root of 5. Next, using the same figure, we're going to solve for y. So let's look to see where is y located. So y is the hypotenuse of the medium triangle, if you see that here. And y is also the long leg of the large triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the large triangle and the medium triangle. So let me draw them like this. So this is the long side, this is the short side. Sorry. This is the long side, this is the short side, this is the hypotenuse. Long, short, hypotenuse. So let's focus on the large triangle. The long side is y. The short side is z. And the hypotenuse, 10 plus 2 is 12. Then for the medium triangle, so you're looking at this triangle, the long side is 10. The short side is x. And the hypotenuse is y. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing the long side and the hypotenuse. So you see how they both have a y in one of these sides? We could say this side over this side is equal to this side over this side. 10 over y is equal to y over 12. Which is here. Cross multiply, and then we get square root of 120, and then we take the square root of that, and that is 2 square root 30. Okay, so now let's try one problem together. If you want to pause the video here and try this problem on your own, you could do that. If not, just continue playing the video. So let's kind of look at the triangles that we have. We have the large triangle here. We have our medium triangle here. And then we have our short triangle here. And what we want to do is we want to find out what x is. So we're going to be using the medium triangle and the short triangle to find that. So let me draw those two triangles, the medium and the short. Okay, in our medium triangle, we have the long leg over the short leg. So 7 over x. In our small triangle, we have the long leg over the short leg. So x over 5. Then creating our proportion, we're going to say 7 over x equals x over 5. Cross multiply, and we get x squared is equal to 35, and then take the square root of both sides, and x is equal to the square root of 35. And that answers our question. Okay, so now for your homework. So you're given these triangles, and you have to use the geometric mean theorem to find the missing length. I'll do a problem with you guys with the setup. Let's look at number 3 together. So if we want to solve for x, we want to compare the short or the small triangle and the medium triangle. Now they tell you that the long leg of the medium triangle is 16, the short leg is x, and they also tell you that the distance from here to here is 25. So then what is this piece going to be here? what number plus 16 would give us 25? And that is 9. So without drawing the figures, I'm going to write the long leg over the short leg, 16 over x, is equal to the long leg over the short leg, x over 9. And if we cross multiply, x times x is x squared, and 16 times 9 is 144. And if you take the square root of both sides, x is equal to 12. So hopefully that example helps you with the rest of the problems. Just try your best and have a good day, guys.